In the year 2024, inside the Sakura Group's first head office building in Tokyo, the exploration division of the Spiritual World Research Club, known as Blue Fox, gathers. Yamada Ichiro, the manager of Blue Fox, stands before a group of participants, their voice steady as they inform explanations are over and orders them to begin. As they pass through the gate, they will enter a world different from theirs. With great emphasis on one fact, they cannot earn money without fighting. Her words leave everyone stunned. Akita Hironori, an enthusiastic employee, immediately recognizes this as a test play of Sakura Corporation's latest secret game and feels impressed. On the other side, Onishi Hiroyuki from the Oda Group, standing beside his partner Sakanda Ken, asks Yamada seriously if everything they agreed earlier is true. Yamada calmly reminds them that they have signed the agreement. He assures them of a daily allowance of 1 million yen and another 1 million yen as a reward for completing the task. Their mission, he explains, is to defeat monsters in Oyona, collect an energy called Nimitive, create an item that can be brought back to their world, and return safely. Onishi, hearing this, agrees and tells Ken they will do their best. As this sinks in, the other participants begin thinking. Nishimiya Hana, a part-time worker, imagines using 2 million yen to buy clothes and bags and go on trips. Kimura Takashi, a band member, thinks of supporting his band with the money. Baba Hideo, a former salaryman, sees a way to save money, pay off debts, and support his children. Amid them, Hashiba Ryuji, a baseball club member at Momoya High School, speaks, saying that their hopes are too ambitious. No matter how they appear, this is a difficult task. Beside him, Yukita Rie, his friend from the same baseball club, encourages him. They have endured tough training together. Rai even suggests that if they combine their earnings, it will be 4 million yen, which they can take back. Ryuji, hearing this, thinks about his own need for the money. He is taken to the past. Ryuji has a serious expression on his face. Rai asks about his worries and begins teasing him. He probably failed the previous test, whereas he scored the highest grades. His academic and athletic skills, intelligence, and good looks always make him stand out. Rai was expecting some banter, but Ryuji is quiet. Later in the back of their school, Ryuji sits, deeply lost in thought. Eventually, he decides to quit the baseball club. When Rai hears this, he is shocked, reminding him of their promise to reach Kashin with the golden battery. But Ryuji explains that his mother has collapsed and is now hospitalized. His father left them long ago, and his mother worked tirelessly to support them. Feeling guilty for not noticing her struggles, he reveals that he has a younger sister to care for. He needs money. Back in the Sakura Group building, Yamada's voice echoes again. He asks if everyone is ready to enter Oyona. Driven by the promise of money, they step forward. The next moment, Ryuji finds himself in a dense forest. Looking around, he sees Nishima, who recognizes this as the inner part of a game. Kimura, standing beside her, cannot believe his eyes. A moment ago, they were in the Sakura Corporation building, and now they are here. Akita is overwhelmed by the realistic environment, seeing it as a breakthrough in technology. Others in the group appear confused, unsure of what to do. Onishi, however, is more interested in the gun they have. Confident in their weapons, Ken believes they can handle any monsters, but Onishi has other intentions. Without warning, he raises his gun and shoots the salaryman. The victim collapses and panic spreads among the group. Ryuji, shocked, demands an explanation. Onishi casually explains that he is just testing the weapon, reassuring them that this is just a game and the person shot will not die in the real world. But Rie, watching the scene, begins to doubt. Everything feels too real. The agreement mentions no responsibility for any losses, even death. This is not just a game. Ryuji, trying to keep his composure, tells Onishi that there is no need to shoot someone to test the weapon. He emphasizes that they should cooperate. Onishi, however, points his gun at him, smiling calmly. He declares that he should walk in front if he wants to cooperate. In that tense moment, Ryuji suddenly punches him, knocking him back. Ken screams at him, asking what he is doing. Ignoring him, Ryuji tells Rai to leave with him. They start running, and Nishima and Kimura quickly follow, preferring to stay with Ryuji and Rie rather than a killer. Onishi shouts after them, vowing to kill the deserters later. His partner rushes to check on Onishi, who, in a fit of rage, curses and promises revenge. His gaze lands on Akita, who is paralyzed with fear. Onishi, still holding his gun, coldly orders Akita to move forward. Meanwhile, Ryuji and his companions finally stop in a distant part of the forest. Nishima, catching her breath, praises him for his courage, asking if he is not afraid of Onishi. Ryuji admits that he is but refuses to stay with people like them. Kimura, trying to lift their spirits, jokes that somehow things will work out. Suddenly, they hear a strange sound. A duck appears before them. Ryuji wonders if it is some kind of monster. Rei is amazed by its size, and Nishima finds it adorable. But without warning, the duck charges at Kimura, knocking him down. Blood spills from his mouth, and he collapses. Realizing the danger, they open fire, but their bullets have no effect as it is able to dodge. The duck, undeterred, knocks down a massive tree with ease. Panic grips them as Rai shouts for them to escape. Nishima, in desperation, fires again, and a strange, intense light bursts from the duck. It freezes and a light from their hands begins to glow. A display appears before them, showing their nimitive count. Ryuji has 2,150 grams, while Rai has 2,144 grams. But before they can feel relief, Nishima rushes to Kimura, who is coughing up blood. Rai, searching the display, remembers that they can buy items with nimitive. As he searches for a healing item, he notices a return core priced at 300 grams, which can bring them back to the real world. But the cost is equal to their body weight. Calculating quickly, Rai realizes they need 70 kilograms of nimitive to return. Suddenly, a noise from the forest draws their attention. Onishi appears before them, but his condition is horrible. Blood drips from his mouth, and his entire lower body is missing. Their eyes widen in horror as they stare at the massive monster before them. Trembling, Nishimiya questions the creature, wondering how it can treat humans so cruelly. But even as she speaks, fear paralyzes her. She is certain she will die. A deafening roar erupts from the monstrous duck, and Rii's mind races. This is the evolved form of the duck they had just defeated. The creature must have come here after hearing the final cries of its fallen kin. Suddenly, the monster lunges forward. Its enormous beak snaps shut around Kimura, swallowing him whole. Blood splashes across the faces of the others. Shock and terror seize them. Rai feels a dreadful, suffocating realization that this is no longer just a game. The monstrous duck lunges again, its razor-sharp beak slicing through Nishimiya, tearing her in half. Blood sprays across the ground, and Ryuji shouts at Rai, telling him to run. The creature's hungry eyes lock onto Rai, and it hits him. But as it closes in, Ryuji darts forward, shoving Rai aside and saving him. Without wasting a moment, Ryuji grabs him, urging him to run. They dash into the forest, weaving between the dense trees, hoping to lose the beast. Rai clings to his back, panic in his voice. He begs him to leave him behind, not wanting to be a burden. But Ryuji's voice is firm, refusing to abandon him. He reminds him that his role has always been to come up with strategies. Hearing this, Rai forces himself to focus. His mind races, calculating their options. Given the monster's speed, they cannot outrun it for long. Desperation claws at him as he struggles to think of a plan. Then he remembers the shop menu and searches for any useful items. His eyes fall on the Muscle Duck Eliminator, a powerful weapon specifically designed to destroy the monstrous duck, but it costs 500 kilograms of nimitive, which is impossible for them to afford. Checking their available nimitive, he sees only 2,100 grams. Even their light-firing handgun, which they received initially, is their most effective weapon. Its energy rounds recharge by absorbing nimitive from the surroundings. Realizing they must rely on this weapon, he makes a desperate decision. He hands him a ball-shaped object, explaining that the moment the monster roars again, he must throw it directly into its mouth. Then Ryuji hides him behind the trees while he draws the monster's attention. He rushes forward, waving his arms and shouting. The monster's furious eyes fixate on him, and it roars, charging at him. In that instant, Ryuji's focus sharpens. Memories of his baseball days flash in his mind, his flawless control, his perfect pitch. Trusting in his skill, he hurls the ball with all his strength. It sails through the air, and just as the monster opens its massive beak, the ball slips inside. A moment later, thick, strange foam begins to spill from the creature's mouth. It convulses violently, vomiting as its movements become sluggish. Rai's plan works inside the ball. A dangerous chemical reaction occurs, releasing toxic gas. The monster thrashes in agony, its body bloating before a brilliant light erupts from within it. The monster collapses to the ground dead. Ryuji stares in disbelief, and then his shock turns to relief. He rushes over to Rie, and they quickly check their nimitive count. It has increased significantly, enough to buy healing items. But just as Ryuji is about to purchase one for him, his friend stops him. Rai insists that they use the Nimitive to buy a return core and escape. But Ryuji refuses to leave him behind, desperately trying to find a way to save him. Rai, feeling his strength fading, smiles weakly. He tells Ryuji not to waste the chance they earned. His voice grows faint, but he promises that he will wait for Ryuji in reality. His eyes slowly close. Ryuji's heart pounds with fear and grief. Shouting his name, he tries to keep his friend awake, but Rie doesn't respond. Trembling, Ryuji looks at the shop menu and buys the return core. The world around him begins to blur, and he finds himself standing in the Sakura Group's building again. Yamada stands before him. He congratulates him for surviving but seems surprised to see him alone. His voice is heady with grief as he tells him that Rie and the others are dead. His calm gaze remains steady, and he confirms that those who die in Oyona do not return. His mind goes blank. Ryuji just stares, struggling to comprehend until he turns emotional. Yamada explains that he never called it a game, it is another world. Even after hearing this, he cannot fully accept it. He hands him 2 million yen, his reward, and walks away, telling him to take care of himself. He stands there, lost and numb. Finally, he pulls out his phone and tries calling Rei. The call doesn't connect. Growing anxious, he calls his mother, who tells him that Rei has not returned home. At school the next day, he overhears classmates discussing Rei's disappearance. Some suggest he might have been kidnapped. When they ask Ryuji if he knows anything, he denies it and walks away. On the street, he notices a television in a shop window showing breaking news. Baba Hideo and Nishimiya are reported missing. His body shakes with horror. Everything is real. Overwhelmed by guilt and grief, he begins to cry. Memories of his friend flood his mind, their friendship, their dreams, and the terrible choice that led to this. But amid his despair, Yamada's words echo in his mind. If he ever accepts the truth, he has something interesting to tell him. He rushes to the Sakura Group's building, desperate. He finds Yamada, and barely holding back tears, tells him that he wants further details. He asks about the interesting thing he had mentioned. His calm smile returns. He explains that deep within Oyona, there is said to be an item capable of bringing the dead back to life, but acquiring it is no simple task. He tells him that they are searching for someone capable of collecting enough energy resources to obtain them, and he needs his help. A spark of hope ignites in his eyes. He swears that if he is lying, he will never forgive him, but for now, he will do anything to bring Rhea back. After all this, he sleeps in his room, but even in his dreams, his friend's voice lingers, promising they would meet again and that he would wait for him in the real world. Ryuji, caught in a desperate struggle, tries to obtain a healing item, even the most expensive one, thinking it might somehow save his companion, but he cannot buy it. He needs more Nimitive, and time slips through his grasp. Helplessly, he watches his companion turn into light, vanishing before his eyes. With a sharp gasp, he jolts awake. Cold sweat clings to his skin. The familiar voice of his sister calls out, announcing that breakfast is ready. Hashiba Eri, his younger sister, is a second-year junior high school student. He gathers himself, leaves his room, and joins her. Eri, noticing his pale face, tells him she plans to visit their mother on her way back from school. He nods, acknowledging her words, but her gaze lingers on him, her expression filled with concern. She tells him that it seems like he had another nightmare. He brushes it off, saying it was just a dream and she shouldn't worry. Yet her mind is clouded with worries about her mother's declining health, the mounting living expenses, and her brother's struggles. He even quit his beloved baseball club, and his best friend, Ri, has gone missing. Fear gnaws at her, and she silently wonders if her brother's stress might eventually break him. Resolving to help, she tells him that she should also work part-time. He calmly reassures her that it is unnecessary. He has earned a considerable amount of money from his part-time job, enough to cover their living expenses and their mother's medical fees. Her surprise is clear, and she asks him how he managed to do this. He explains that he is working part-time for now, so there is no need for her to worry. Though relieved, she cannot help but question if his job is dangerous. He confidently denies it. When she asks what his job is, he tells her that he is assisting in game development, but because it is a completely new game with strict confidentiality, he cannot share many details. He urges her not to worry about anything. After breakfast, he heads to the head office building, where Yamada introduces him to a group of people. He speaks highly of him, describing him as a reliable and experienced veteran of Oyona. His words catch the group's attention, and curiosity fills their faces. He further reveals that he is the one who earned 2 million yen in the last challenge, encouraging anyone with questions to ask him. Ryuji, confused, asks her what is happening. Calmly, he tells him that these are the new challengers. His gaze shifts to the group, and a heady feeling settles in his chest. His mind races with dread, fearing that they will suffer like his companion or even like him. But he assures him that if he guides them, things might be different. Despite his hesitation, he reluctantly agrees, feeling like he is being manipulated. He bitterly tells him that his death will not be a good one. He only laughs. Taking a deep breath, he introduces himself to the group, acknowledging that he seems to be the leader. But a small part of the group quickly makes it clear they are not interested in following him. They explain that they are the kind of players who do the tutorial but avoid guides, preferring to experience things firsthand. They assert that they are professionals, a revelation that surprises Ryuji. A member of the pro-gamer team Valhalla Knights, Fukumura Tetsuru, steps forward, revealing their status as pro-gamers. Another member, Motoriyama Hiranu, adds that they are not treating this lightly. Tsuda Kisuk also apologetically tells him that they intend to make their own choices. Fukumura calmly asks Yamada if there are any objections, making it clear that following commands was not part of their contract. He respects their decision. Observing their confidence, Ryuji cannot comprehend their mindset. Another participant, Katu Huma, expresses interest in joining them, promising not to be a burden. The Valhalla Knights allow him to join as long as he does not interfere. But even as the group disperses, Ryuji is approached by 3 others. Yodogawa Kana, a second-year student at Azuchi Girls' High School, sincerely acknowledges him as their leader. Maeda Jenguru, a business interpreter, and Minami Koharu, a first-year student from Shibata High School, also choose to follow him. Ryuji hesitates, but seeing their determination, he accepts them. Looking at Jenguru's sunglasses and white cane, he wonders if the man is blind. But before he can ask, the other group members prepare to enter Oyona, laughing and boasting of their skills. Jenguru quietly comments that overconfidence is a dangerous thing. Koharu, watching the others, admits she has no interest in getting close to such people. Yodogawa senses a hint of bitterness in her words. Ryuji warns them that this is not a game but a life-threatening mission. He suggests that girls and visually impaired individuals should avoid it. Jenguru, however, calmly challenges him. Comparing it to crossing a street with fast-moving vehicles, every step in life is a risk. Yodogawa expands on this, stating that one only crosses a street when something valuable awaits on the other side. For them, that valuable thing is money. Realizing their resolve, Ryuji leads them into Oyona. Instantly, the world around them changes into a ruined building, an abandoned cityscape. Their clothes have transformed, appearing bold and strange. Jenguru's cane is gone, leaving him tense. He assures the group that he can manage by relying on sound, but it will be difficult without his cane. The menu screen appears before them, confirming they are in the game. They discover the return core, which requires enough nimetiv equal to their body weight. Ryuji gravely informs them that earning that amount is a daunting task. Last time, a massive creature killed 6 of his companions, and its defeat barely earned enough for one person's return. He warns them to stay cautious, explaining that in this ruined city, threats are less sudden than in the forest, but still deadly. They must fight only if they have the advantage, fleeing when outmatched. As they move, their attention is drawn to sunflowers growing on the walls, an unsettling sight. But Koharu's discomfort becomes clear as she feels nauseous at the sight of the flowers. Suddenly, Jenguru's sharp hearing picks up something of faint rhythmic sound. He realizes the sunflowers are pulsing. Without warning, the flowers twist, their petals shifting like grotesque moths. Jenguru rushes to push her away, swinging wildly with a metal pipe. The flowers swarm, but his strikes pass through them, leaving no impact. Ryuji tries quickly pulling him back, but the flowers have made their strike. Jenguru collapses, panic spreading among the group. Ryuji, gripped by fear, shouts for them to run toward the building's exit. Koharu drags Jenguru, while Ryuji and Yodogawa attempt to cover them. Surrounded by twisting, reaching flowers, his mind races. Memories of his past companions' deaths flash before him. But he cannot let it happen again. He has to lead them. Meanwhile, the Valhalla Knights team faces their own challenge, encountering the same monstrous flowers. They quickly assess the situation, treating it like a difficult game, and decide to pool their nimetiv to buy a new weapon. They decide to buy a cool katana, but as they prepare, they happen to chance upon a humongous sunflower twisting toward them. It opens, and in a chilling voice, it asks if they, too, wish to become sunflowers. Meanwhile, Ryuji quickly assesses the situation, his eyes widening at the sight of the overwhelming number of flowers swarming around them. Realizing the danger, he orders his companions to run, his voice steady but urgent. The flowers continue to laugh, their twisted petals curling as they call out for them to play. Amid the chaos, he hesitates, struggling to understand what they should do next. The weight of leadership presses down on him, but he knows he must act. Koharu, keeping her focus, grips Gangero's arm, urging him to stay strong, and the two of them dash forward, their footsteps pounding against the ground. But as they run, Ryuji notices the gap between them widening. A quick glance back confirms his suspicions. The sunflowers are slowing down. Without hesitation, he draws his weapon, taking aim at the encroaching flowers. His bullets tear through the petals, sending some flowers scattering. Relief washes over him as he realizes that his bullets are effective. But the memory of the resilient duck flashes in his mind, how it didn't even flinch under fire. Just as doubt begins to creep in, Yudugawa appears by his side, firing alongside him. Koharu and Gangero find a temporary hiding spot, watching the desperate battle. His conscience claws at him, and he considers going back to help. But she, recognizing his injury, insists he stay put. His face is lined with exhaustion, but he smiles bitterly, suggesting that he should be the one to sacrifice himself so the others can escape. She, unwavering, points out the reality that he is injured, blind, and past his prime. He cannot hope to hold the flowers back. Her voice is firm, reminding him that for now, they must focus on survival. Back on the battlefield, Ryuji and Yudugawa manage to bring down one of the flowers, but his brow furrows. He cannot tell how many bullets it took to defeat it, though he is certain it was fewer than 10. The realization strikes him that these flowers are weaker than the ducks they fought before. His focus sharpens, and his shots become more calculated. On another front, Fukimura and his team confront a towering sunflower. Its massive head looms over them, its thick stem and wide leaves radiating a sinister presence. He immediately suspects it might be a mid-level boss. His team is initially dismissive, calling it predictable, and Fukimura, with a smile, charges forward, sword in hand. But as his blade strikes the thick stem, he finds it almost impenetrable. A companion, attempting to help, jokes about aiming for the head like in games, but he brushes it off, insisting on hacking it apart first. Their banter is cut short as a scream pierces the air. One of their team is seized by the sunflower's vines, his body crushed against the wall. The horrific scene unfolds before them, the flower's twisted face leers as their companion's form melts. Transforming into another sunflower, the horror spread. Another member is infested with the sunflower seeds and twisted into the grotesque bloom. Panic grips Fukimura. Disbelief floods his mind, memories of mocking Ryuji's warnings playing like a cruel reminder. This isn't a game. Desperation seizes him, and he turns to flee, but the sunflower's vines snap around his legs, dragging him toward the grotesque flower. His final screams are swallowed by its hungry petals. Watching from a distance, Hyoma chuckles coldly. His gaze follows the brutal transformation of Fukimura and his team, finding a twisted sense of amusement in their fate. They had boasted about being pro-gamers, yet here they fell like helpless prey. His amusement doesn't waver even as the flowers turn toward him. After the fierce battle, they discover that they accumulated around 100 kilograms of nemative. Ryuji calmly explains that the return core, which weighs 300 grams, is an item they use to escape from Moyona to the real world. Once activated, it consumes an amount of nemative equal to the user's weight. They calculate the amount and realize it is enough for one person to return. But the prospect of leaving alone feels unsettling to them, and none of them brings themselves to consider it. Ryuji, observing their hesitation, understands that they are good people. Seeing this, he seriously tells them they have two options. The first is to keep collecting more nemative, while the second is to invest in better equipment. Offering his personal view, he advises them to buy equipment. He does not sugarcoat his words, explaining that even if it seems harsh, there are monsters here that they cannot defeat with just their current weapons. Genguru agrees with his reasoning, stating that rather than risking their lives in 3 desperate battles, it is better to fight 6 battles with a better chance of survival. Yudugawa also supports the idea, suggesting they keep some nemative in reserve for emergencies. Koharu quickly agrees as well, and with this consensus, they begin to think seriously about how they can best use the nemative they earn. But while they discuss this, Ryuji remembers when Yamada tells him with seriousness that for most people, the price of returning from Moyona is 2 million yen. But for him, there is a condition because he knows he has the ability to return. He intends to push him to take the next step. He, listening intently, asks what the condition is. Holding a glass bottle in his hand, he tells him that he must bring Nimitive back with him. He explains that there is an item capable of transferring Nimitive from Oyona to the real world. For every gram he brings, he gets 1 yen. He makes it clear 2 tons of Nimitive mean 2 million yen, and he can earn even more depending on his efforts. He is surprised, and his thoughts immediately turn to the battle where he earned around 70 kilograms of Nimitive from defeating the large duck creature. Yamada explains that the amount may seem massive, but the deeper he ventures into Oyona, the greater his rewards become. He emphasizes that if he wants to bring Rhea back, he must go even deeper. He asks him directly if their interests are not aligned, making him realize his choice. The words sink in, and as he stands in Oyona, his resolve strengthens, determined to ensure the safe return of all his companions before venturing even further. Meanwhile, Huma, exhausted from fighting the large monster, notices something strange. The defeated creatures do not disappear or turn into Nimitive as they usually do. His confusion turns to alarm when he hears sharp, unclear cries in the distance. Turning around, he sees the large flower monster standing before him, and the realization strikes him. It is calling for reinforcements. Understanding the danger, he thinks about how much time and effort it takes to bring down just one of them. But as the sounds grow louder, he knows he has no choice and starts preparing to fight. The echoes of the monster's call reach Ryuji and his companions as well. Standing on the rooftop, they see the chaos below. Jangoro immediately recognizes the noise as the movement of a monster, and they soon spot Huma struggling below. Koharu quickly recalls that he is with the pro gamers team. But seeing him alone, she understands that his teammates might have either abandoned him or been killed. Without hesitation, Ryuji decides to help him. Ryuji seriously asks Yudogawa if she has a plan. Yudogawa, faced with the situation, begins to think it through while Ryuji heads down to support Huma. He trusts Yudogawa to find a way to defeat the massive sunflower. Jangoro, watching his reckless bravery, questions his seriousness, reminding him that they had agreed to run away if they encounter a large one. But Koharu notices something about Ryuji, his kindness, his unwillingness to abandon someone. Even Koharu admits that his kindness makes her anxious. Understanding that they have no other choice, Jangoro joins him, leaving the girls to come up with a plan. Down below, Huma struggles, facing the enormous monster with all his strength, but he quickly realizes the situation is worse than he thinks. 2 of the creatures now approach him, and he cannot find an opening to attack. Even more terrifying, the sunflower has not yet begun to throw its deadly seeds, and as he fears, the monster starts launching them. But just then, Ryuji and Jangoro arrive, their weapons cutting down the seeds mid-air, clearing a path to Huma. They signal him to stay back, making it clear that they are here to help. Huma is grateful for the help. When asked, he explains how the pro gamers have died. Shocked, but deciding to move on, Ryuji is beginning to accept the twisted reality of this world. Their moment of reprieve is short-lived as the 2 massive monsters reappear. Wasting no time, Ryuji had already spent 15 kilograms of Nimitive to purchase a new weapon, a baseball bat called Perfect Closer. Swinging it with full force, he strikes the creature. Jangoro also bought a white cane 48 IF for the same amount. Testing its strength, he realizes it is powerful but lacks destructive force. Huma, grateful for their support, quickly makes do with the borrowed weapon, an elegant Japanese katana named Death Crimson, costing 13 kilograms of Nimitive. With this blade, he launches a fierce assault, his strikes precise and relentless. Ryuji watches, stunned by his athletic skill and control, wondering who he really is. But his curiosity is interrupted by the sudden attack of the 2 monsters targeting Jangoro. The monsters shoot, and Jangoro cannot dodge in time, but they collide with something invisible, and their path diverts. Looking around, they spot Koharu standing with 2 handguns in her hands, each weighing 15 kilograms of Nimitive. She yells at Jangoro to move, asking if he plans to die standing there. Grateful, he quickly thanks her. But the monsters turn toward Koharu now. Ryuji realizes the danger and quickly yells to draw their focus, taunting them and declaring himself their opponent. The sunflower beast charges at him, and his companions cry out in fear as the creature nearly slams him against the wall. Meanwhile, Yudogawa, urged by Koharu, struggles to find a solution. She admits she did not expect them to fight something so large and strong, But suddenly, Ryuji, even while struggling, calls out to them not to be afraid. He seriously tells them that compared to the pitches of a high school baseball player, this creature's attacks are slow. As he strikes a pitcher return, they realize that the seeds absorb nutrients wherever they land, even if it is in the main body. This sparks an idea in Yudogawa's mind. Understanding that the creatures are plants, she realizes they cannot control their nutrient absorption. Their cells can be destroyed by generating reactive oxygen. Inspired, she quickly shares her plan. Huma and the others, impressed, rally around the idea, launching a coordinated attack. With focused strikes, they overwhelm the monsters, burning and slashing until they finally collapse. Panting with exhaustion, they stand among the remains of the defeated creatures, relieved to have survived. Jingoro, catching his breath, reflects on how close they come to death. Ryuji apologizes for involving them, while Huma thanks them for their help, introducing himself and hoping they can get along. Ryuji also introduces himself, expressing his gratitude to Yudogawa for her successful plan. When they check their accumulated nimitive, they find it has significantly increased. Realizing they might now have enough to return, Ryuji senses that this might be the point where they all part ways. But suddenly, Janguru hears approaching sounds. He quickly warns everyone that something is coming 7 or 8 figures. Huma is intrigued, but Koharu considers fleeing, suggesting they already have enough nimitive. But something feels off. Ryuji soon realizes the approaching figures are talking among themselves. As the group comes into view, their leader suggests talking to Ryuji's group, wondering who has been making money freely on the island of snakes. His companions agree, expecting this. They advance, and their appearance is reminiscent of something like Churriba, but it is clear they look human. Confused, Ryuji's group questions if they are other players or humanoid monsters. The strangers make it clear they are questioning his group. Janguro, grasping the situation, asks if they are joking, but suddenly, a massive sunflower creature descends upon them. The leader of the approaching group casually tells it to move aside, then unleashes a devastating attack, obliterating the creature instantly. Light erupts around them. Turning back, the leader casually asks if they seem cruel. Ryuji and his companions stand stunned, unable to grasp the overwhelming power they are witnessing. The leader instantly shoots Huma in the chest and causes him to fall down. The leader asks them seriously where they are from. Ryuji seriously tells him that they are from the real world. Hearing this, the leader dismisses them as fools and asks which team they belong to. Observing them, Yudogawa begins to wonder if they are also from the real world, possibly from a different gate or a separate team. In response, Ryuji calmly identifies their team as the Blue Fox. Hearing this, the leader explains to his companions that they are from Sakura Group and declares that these people are acting shamelessly and are of bad character. He admits that he initially thought they might belong to the Red Gate, which would have been interesting. But now that they are not connected to him, he has no interest in them and plans to kill them. As soon as he says this, Huma swiftly raises his weapon and charges toward the leader, but his attack has no effect. The leader effortlessly counters, striking him with his weapon and sending him flying. He crashes to the ground, and Ryuji shouts in concern. Their team members watch in disbelief, astonished at his resilience despite being wounded. The man from Green Snakes quickly realizes that if his equipment matched or exceeded their leader's, he would have been defeated. They immediately check on their leader, who reassures them that he is fine. The leader then acknowledges that their move was good, but declares that with their current equipment, they cannot harm him. Observing this, Yudogawa becomes certain that Huma's weapon had touched the leader's bare neck, making her wonder if high-level equipment can enhance the entire body's durability. Their leader calmly points out the vast difference in strength between his team and Ryuji's, instructing them to stop resisting as he is offering them an easy death. Fear grips Ryuji and his companions as they begin to question if this is truly the end for them. They cannot understand why these people are so determined to kill them. Desperately, they call out for someone to save them. At that moment, Ryuji urgently warns them that death in Oyona means death in the real world. The leader calmly acknowledges this fact, stating it is common knowledge for them. Ryuji, shocked, questions how they can kill others knowing this. The leader reveals that he belongs to a Yakuza family in the real world. For them, Oyona is convenient because they do not have to dispose of corpses, making killing easy. This revelation horrifies Yudogawa, realizing that Yakuza and Oyona together are a deadly combination. The leader further explains that monsters here respawn slowly, making it better to maintain a small group to collect more nimitive. Understanding this, Ganguro questions if they are seen as obstacles to his hunting grounds, while Koharu considers the cruelty of hunting players for their initiative, comparing it to a brutal online game. Ryuji reflects on how initiative can be used to buy anything within Oyona, and recalls how Yamada spent a significant amount for it, confirming its value in the real world. He remembers the explanation that Oyona is layered, with each deeper layer presenting stronger enemies and more valuable initiative. No one knows how many layers exist, and no one has reached the deepest layer. Realizing that this competition over resources may be the cause of the hostility, Ryuji suggests working together, stating that they could all become stronger. But the leader, unimpressed, believes they are simply a group of weaklings who earn a little money in the first layer and then retreat to the real world. He declares them as the Blue Fox team and, pointing his weapon at them, coldly remarks that collaborating with weaklings is beneath him. Ryuji insists that his only goal is to reach the deeper layers. This catches the leader's interest, and he asks why he wants to go there. Ryuji steps forward, revealing that he wants to bring his best friend back to life because he believes there is a way in the deeper layers of Oyona. His companions are shocked, questioning his determination. Finding their resolve interesting, the leader decides to test them. If he can land a single hit on him, he will let them go. This challenge fills Ryuji with determination, and he immediately agrees. The leader, as a courtesy, decides to use a weaker weapon, though he warns that it can still kill them. Realizing that they now have a chance to survive, Ganguro and the others are impressed by Ryuji's courage. But before the fight begins, Huma steps forward, announcing that he will fight instead. Everyone is shocked, including Ryuji, who notices that his wounds are completely healed. He quickly deduces that he used Kizuna All Gamma, an expensive item that instantly heals any injury. This means he likely spent all their initiative. The leader allows them to fight together, considering it a balanced handicap. Ryuji's companions see this as a valuable opportunity, understanding that his confidence turned it into a 2v1 battle. On the other hand, the leader's companions are impressed with Huma's resolve and suspect that their leader might already understand Huma's capabilities. Ryuji considers their situation, wondering if their weapons can truly compete against the leader's gun. Huma assures him that if he didn't believe they could win, he would have chosen a gun instead. He remembers searching for weapons, but is unsure what to buy. He notices a note explaining that certain real-world items can manifest special abilities in Oyona, which is why he chose this weapon. The leader initiates the fight, telling them not to disappoint him. Ryuji and Huma charge forward. Ryuji knows that a single shot could be fatal, so he stays alert, watching the muzzle of the leader's weapon. Suddenly, the leader leaps into the air, momentarily vanishing from sight. His laughter echoes as he asks if they find this fun. Huma rushes at him, deflecting his bullets with his weapon. The leader, observing his movements, feels a sense of unease, recognizing the speed and skill despite the basic equipment. His companions watch in awe, realizing they are witnessing a battle between superhumans. Ryuji seizes the moment, maneuvering around the leader to strike from behind. But the leader, anticipating this, calmly blocks his attack with his gun and swiftly injures Huma, disabling his legs. The team is stunned, realizing his thighs have been shot, making him unable to move. Seeing his condition, fear grips Ryuji. Understanding that if even Huma could not land a single hit, what chance does he have? He begins to doubt his chances of victory. The leader coldly states that his hesitation means he has already lost his fighting spirit, dismissing him as someone who will never reach the deeper layers. As Ryuji processes this, he is overwhelmed with self-doubt, recalling how he survived before only because of others, his mother, sister, and friends. In his heart, he silently apologizes to them. But then he remembers his friend's voice, reminding him that if he loses hope, Kashin will remain a dream. This realization reignites his determination. Focusing only on victory, he begins advancing toward the leader again. The leader, surprised by his unwavering spirit, fires at him, but Ryuji blocks the bullets with his bat. Sensing that a decisive clash is inevitable, the leader decides to escape, but Ryuji, moving with incredible speed, closes the distance. His resolve is absolute. The leader's companions watch in shock, realizing that his skill with his bat is beyond their expectations. Even the leader is forced to acknowledge his strength, recognizing that if his weapon were stronger, he would be in serious danger. Finally, Ryuji charges at the leader, his speed unstoppable. The leader attempts to counter, but he blocks the bullets with his bare hand, leaving everyone stunned. The leader warns him that his hand cannot withstand the impact, But Ryuji continues, driven by his unyielding resolve, and pulls the leader close. He launches a skull-crushing headbutt to ensure his victory. He channels all his strength into a final strike, feeling the surge of victory. He begins to assert that maybe this wouldn't count as a headbutt, confidently stating that he can still deliver another blow. But before he can continue, the leader's companions step forward, acknowledging his successful hit, warning him to stop if he values his life. Addressing him as baseball, they remark that his persistence was reckless. The leader then throws an item towards him, Kizuna All Gamma, marked as N9MATIV 50 kilograms, explaining that it instantly heals any wound, excluding organ loss or illnesses. He tosses another one towards Huma, suggesting he use it if he is still alive. Huma, despite his initial intent to land the decisive hit himself, applies the item to his wound, witnessing with amazement as it heals instantly. Observing this, Koharu seriously questions if he is truly healed. The leader briefly considers launching another attack, but is stopped by his companions, who note that it may no longer be feasible. Yadogawa immediately checks Ryuji's condition, using the healing item on his wounds. He watches in disbelief as his injuries vanish instantly, clearly impressed by the item's effectiveness. The leader then approaches him with a serious demeanor, asking for his name. Ryuji introduces himself, maintaining a steady tone. Huma follows suit. In return, the leader reveals his identity as Aze Takemaru, the leader of the Green Snakes. His companions also introduce themselves Kuranosuke, Hatsu, and Kanachacha, all members of the Green Snakes. Takemaru, keeping his promise, acknowledges them for the time being. However, when Ryuji inquires if they will explore the deeper layers together, Takemaru firmly denies any alliance, clarifying that he is merely letting them go. He sees no benefit in teaming up with them, but encourages them to prove themselves. If they show value, he might consider working with them in the future. With this, he leads his companions away. Ganguro, Huma, and the others express their gratitude to Ryuji, recognizing that they narrowly escaped death because of him, pledging to follow him without hesitation. Just as the Green Snakes prepare to leave, Ryuji calls out, asking if it is true that something in the deeper layers can bring the dead back to life. Takemaru, without hesitation, confirms it, suggesting that such a thing even exists in the second layer. This revelation solidifies Ryuji's resolve, realizing that his goal might be closer than he imagined. As Takemaru and his group depart, his companions question his decision to share this knowledge so insincerely. Takemaru calmly explains that this place is defined by chaos. There are no laws, only desires. In this hell, those who do not break are the ones he acknowledges. Chacha suddenly stops and returns to Ryuji, asking if he remembers her name. When he recalls it correctly, she smiles, leans in, and kisses him, telling him not to die. As she walks away happily, her companions comment that she seems smitten with him, anticipating potential trouble. Ryuji's companions, witnessing the scene, begin teasing him, all except Kana. The rest suggest that he invite Chakra to join them, considering her strength. He quickly brushes off their remarks, trying to maintain composure. Afterward, in a quiet room, they reflect on the relentless challenges they have faced, first the giant sunflower, then the encounter with the Green Snakes. Despite everything, Huma admits that he found it fun, a sentiment that surprises Koharu, who now realizes that they are not the only ones in this world. Yadogawa, ever composed, notes that some of the others seem to be Yakuza, implying that monsters are not the only threat here. She further reveals that these individuals appeared aware of other teams and suggests that gates may exist in multiple locations, possibly managed by various organizations sending people here. But she firmly states that dwelling on this further is pointless, expressing her unwillingness to think about it any longer. Ryuji agrees, advising that they should forget it all once they return to the real world. He then checks the display, assessing their accumulated nimitive. Koharu immediately reports her total over 60 kilograms, while Yadogawa has around the same amount. This confirms that the giant sunflower must have been worth 100 kilograms of nimitive. Huma, checking his display, realizes that his nimitive is nearly exhausted due to purchasing a healing item, repairing his broken sword, and buying strawberry milk. Observing this, Ganguro asks Koharu to share his total, which stands at 62,315 grams. They recognize that he has saved a substantial amount. Understanding the situation, Ryuji offers to lend them the remaining nimitive they need. Ganguro, however, asks if he intends to continue exploring alone once they return. Ryuji confirms this with a serious expression. Hyuma then declares his intention to stay with him, revealing that he lacks enough nimitive and has something he must do here. When questioned about his purpose, he simply calls it a secret. Ganguro purchases water for 100 grams of nimitive and announces his decision to accompany Ryuji, insisting that he cannot return by borrowing nimitive. Koharu, attempting to lighten the mood, jokes about wanting to go back, but Yadogawa firmly decides to remain with him. Ryuji, however, urges them to return to the real world, reminding them of the risks they face. He emphasizes that their original goal was to earn 2 million nimitive, but they cannot achieve this without returning. Ganguro counters, stating that if he dies after they leave, they will never forgive themselves. Ryuji calmly replies that if they all stay and one of them dies, he will be unable to bear it. He then shares his true goal, using the nimitive to revive his best friend and earn more for financial security, and besides, his condition is different from theirs. He won't be getting 2 million for just returning this time. He will be paid according to the amount of nimitive he brings back. Yadogawa, considering the situation, suggests that they cooperate, collecting nimitive together and getting it to him before they return. He can exchange it for cash and fairly distribute it among them. Her idea impresses everyone. She then reveals that her family has run a soba restaurant since her great-grandfather's time, but the pandemic has driven it into decline. To help them, she took on this part-time job. She also looks longingly at Ryuji, but quickly stops herself from continuing. Ganguro shares his reason for searching for his missing wife, who disappeared 5 years ago. The police have done little, and his poor eyesight limits his options, making this job his best chance. Finally, Koharu admits that she never wanted to study or work, dreaming only of playing games. Tearfully, she confesses that she wants enough money to stay shut in her house forever. Understanding their resolve, Ryuji asks if they will all move forward together. They agree, and he leads them, determined yet anxious, hoping they will all return to the real world without losing anyone. Elsewhere, Chaka is reminded of her beginning in this world, how she saw the cruelty faced by the others and herself, how gangs of bandits mercilessly chased others and forced them to run or get trampled by the truck. She prays for Ryuji, as trying to save others in this world is an impossible task, no matter the talent and resolve.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.